Welcome, I'm Travis.
And I'm Tyler, and this is Strategies for Success, a show that explores many topics while aiming to equip listeners with simple and practical lessons you can use in your everyday life.
Now join us on our journey as we reach for the impossible. Welcome back, guys. We're so glad to be live with you again. I'm Trav.
And I'm Tyler.
And today we've got our very special celebrity guest back with us, my dad, the one and only Mike McCrate. Thanks, Dad, for coming on with us.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Travis and Tyler. Appreciate you having me back on.
Yeah.
I probably should be getting paid for handing out advice like this.
You're the first guest to come back on for more than one episode.
That's right. And I'll tell you what, for a little backstory here for our listeners, my dad received an email offer for him to be on other podcasts, and we've had several guests. We've also been doing these, almost 20 episodes now, and we've never got an invitation to another podcast. So this is truly a celebrity. It's an honor and a privilege to have you on with us.
Well, you know what they say, guys. Some guys have it and some don't.
That's right.
So I guess that's probably what it is.
Yeah. Well, we got a couple questions for you, or just kind of ideas, topics to talk about. One of them, we'd mentioned it in the past, but it's the Henry Ford saying, it's whether you think you can or you can't, you're probably right. And I know I've heard you say that. I've heard Travis say that. It just kind of, what's your explanation behind that? What is your view on that saying?
Well, I'll tell you, I've learned over the years, back when I was struggling to find a way to buy my company from the corporate company, I was trying to get financing, and I was having a hard time doing that because of the way our corporation was structured, and there were so many liens filed, it was tough to do. But I racked my brain, and I just about gave up 2 or 3 times, but in the end it came through. So I believe that if you want something bad enough, you can figure out a way to make it happen, and that's what Henry Ford was basically saying, is whether you believe you can or you can't, you're probably right.
You told me that first time I heard you say that advice, it was one of those that just kind of clicked. But you said, listen, you got someone who say they can, like, let's say you say you're going to buy a sports car, just if the person means it, they're going to go to whatever extreme it takes to get it. And then you said, if someone says they can't, what that really means is they're done trying.
Yeah, I was taking a sales training course years ago, and I remember, I believe it was a Tom Hopkins seminar that I was listening to, and he was telling about one of the young guys in his class after the week of classes came up to him and told him, he said, well, I've decided to set a goal. He said, I'm going to buy me a new Cadillac. And of course, by setting a goal, he had instructed him to write it down and when it was going to happen and, make specific goals. So he said, when do you plan to have that Cadillac? He said, well, I'm not really sure. He said, well, why don't you come take a ride with me? And so that young man, they got in the car. He said, where are we going? He said, we're heading down to the Cadillac agency. And so he took him in there and they sat down, and he decided in 1 year he was going to be able to pay for that Cadillac. And so they went in and wrote up an order, and he got he told him in 1 year he'd be back to get it, and it worked out. In 1 year, he picked his new Cadillac up. And of course, he went on to say that, sometimes you want something that you really probably don't need or can't afford. And he said he was flying commercial one time, and he looked out the window of this commercial jet, and there was a little jet running along beside him getting ready to take off. And he asked the guy, he said, what's that over there? And he said, that's a biz jet. And he said, what's the deal? And he said, well, these big corporation guys, they have private jets that they fly in, so they don't have to fly commercial. So he said, I set a goal that I was going to buy a biz jet. And so he set a time and everything, and he told his class the week that he was going to get that jet, he said, after the class today. We're going out to the airport, and my jet's coming in. He said, I've been saving up for a year to pay for make a down payment on this jet. And so they got out to the airport, and this beautiful little jet landed, and he let the class all come out and look it over, and they were all real impressed. And so he told them all goodbye and got in, and the pilot took off, and they just got airborne, and the pilot handed him a bill for $7,000. And he said, now what's this, my first month's fuel bill? He said, no, that's how much fuel I burned coming out here to pick you up.
Oh,
Wow.
He said, about a month later, I sold that thing because I just couldn't afford it. So
Yeah,
that's how that goes sometimes.
I think this kind of goes along with it. I heard one of the famous financial guys, he was talking about, a lot of people say, I can't afford something, like if they want, maybe it was a jet that they really didn't need, but a lot of people would say, I can't afford that. And he said, instead of saying that, ask yourself, what can I do to afford that?
Right. Well, one other thing that I had mentioned to Travis a few days ago was one time I was struggling, during the period I was buying my business from the corporation, and I was telling my CPA, I had a wise CPA that worked for me, and I was telling him how I was putting in 60, 70 hours a week and struggling, and I didn't know if the corporate people really appreciated it or not. And he just said, well, Mike, one thing about it, you can't measure effort. You can only measure results. And, it sounds pretty simple, but that's food for thought. You can't, some people can work really hard and never accomplish anything, but you gotta have a goal, and you gotta have a plan in place to make it work.
yeah, exactly. You can put a lot of effort, and we did a couple of events for our boys ministry program that that we're part of, but they had several events. One where they were spending weeks in preparation, and 30 or 40 people were showing up, and so we sat down, kind of reevaluated that. We did a weekend 3-hour event, had 4 times as many people showed up. And it just, that saying you had told me, it echoed home. We did a third of the work, but had 10 times more results. You know what I mean? And so that you got to be measuring, I guess, your return on investment, maybe.
Well, and as management people, what we have to do is we have to be able to delegate and to magnify our results by working through our people. And over the years, I've had times that you've accused me a few times of being a perfectionist, and I'm far from that. But sometimes I just didn't think anybody could do a certain thing the way I wanted it done, so I did it myself. But you got to learn to turn things loose and trust your people to get the job done for you, because people are what make your business successful.
Well, now you brought this up, so I've got to share a story. So when we were looking for a service manager, I remember that they had us fill out these surveys. I filled out one, our general manager Kelly filled out one, and you filled out one, and it was what we were looking for. And so they ask you a series of questions, and you put them in. And I remember you called us in the office, and we were on this conference call with this business advisor. And we've mentioned him before. He gave us permission to use his name, but it's Bob Clements International. And he said, well, guys, let's go over the results here. He said, so, Trav, it looks like you're looking for someone to come in here and just keep going with the processes that you've implemented. And Kelly, you're looking for a guy that's customer satisfaction driven. And he said, Mike, it looks like you're looking for Jesus, but he isn't applying for a service position. So you're going to have to lower your standards a little bit.
That was a pretty good one, too.
Yes, it was.
It doesn't hurt to shoot for the top, though,
Yeah, you've told me this many times too, that, hey, we're not trying to be the hometown ball team. We want to be the New York Yankees.
Exactly.
Well, just so you know, our episode here, we're going to be doing these every once in a while, and these are going to be gold nuggets with Dad. And so where did we get that? So back up a few episodes, we were talking about the advice that's given. It's like picking up gold. It's gold nuggets, but unless you mine it out and you take it and you do something with it, because you got to do what, Tyler?
Got to execute.
You got to execute on them. So today, we want to thank you, Dad, for being on the episode with us.
Yep. Thanks a lot.
And we're going to be doing this again. You're probably going to be getting lots of offers after being on a couple times with us.
They're probably wanting me to pay them to be on there. So.
They're lining up right now.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for asking me, and I hope that helps your listening audience.
Yep.
Yep.
Thanks for being on with us.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Well, guys, as Tyler said, it's time to execute. It's time for the challenge. So, Tyler, I thought into this quite a bit. What is our number one resource that we mentioned?
It's time.
Yeah, that's right. It's time. It's not money. It's not our things or belonging. It's time. So, I'd like in our challenge, and we're going to do the same thing. I'd like you to take a look at how you're spending your day every day, and look at it and say, man, just like what he mentioned in our conversation. Man, I'm putting 60, 70 hours in. Do these guys even appreciate it? But then you look at the same business across town. That guy's working 35 and making more money. So you got to ask yourself, what's going on? What are these guys doing? So the challenge is to evaluate your time on a day-by-day basis and make sure that you're making time for the important things. So the 4 things we've talked about, the way we grow spiritually, mentally, socially, and physically, you got to have a balance in your life. Make time for the things that truly matter.
Thank you for learning with us.
Join us next time as we reach for the impossible. I'm Travis,
And I'm Tyler.
and this is
Strategies for Success.